This is the Iron Fox Podcast, tunneling through today's car wash needs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Iron Fox Podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Kern. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a big effect on many industries, and car washes aren't immune to that. And joining me today to share some best practices during this time is Dominic Lewinsohn. He is the president of Iron Fox. Dominic, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks ever so much for having me, Tyler.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I mentioned off the top there that a lot of industries are having a hard time during this pandemic. And I'm wondering if you could just outline some of the challenges that owners and operators of car washes are having during this COVID-19 pandemic, just kind of detailing what they're up against right now.
Right. Well, obviously the biggest issue everyone's facing are the safety of both their employees and their customers. So that's the biggest thing facing all people in the car wash industry. I think keeping social gatherings at less than 10 people really limit the amount of flow that car washers can do as well. Adhering to CDC guidelines and also local and state and other federal guidelines as well. For an example would be Maryland at the moment. They have shut down all car washes in the state of Maryland, and they are now sending state troopers, giving people $5,000 fines and up to 1 year in jail if they're opening. So actually even being able to open in some sectors of America is very hard. And so in order to be able to be open, in a lot of states, car washers have got to demonstrate that they're an essential business. So being able to demonstrate that one is an essential business is also a challenge for a lot of car washers. And then another challenge that everybody is facing in a lot of industries, but certainly the car wash industry, is competing with federal unemployment. At the moment, the federal unemployment has enacted an extra $600 per week per employee who is on unemployment. And therefore, when you add that to the state unemployment money as well, the payment for being unemployed is about $23 to $26 an hour. And this is very hard to compete with.
Yeah, those are certainly some challenges for car washes, just as they try to maintain business during this time. And if they aren't able to be open right now, that's certainly an obstacle as well. And you mentioned there the safety of employees, and that being one of the difficulties that car wash owners and operators are dealing with. What are some precautions that car wash owners can take during this time to help protect their employees and give them that peace of mind?
Yeah, the most important thing any car wash owner or operator can do is create a safe environment for employees and their guests. And this is something that car wash operators deal with day in and day out, even before this pandemic. There's a lot of machineries, there's a lot of things going on, and so car wash operators are well equipped to deal with these eventualities. But some of the things that people need to do in this current pandemic environment is always follow the current CDC guidelines. And there's some very, very clear things that help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And the first one is obviously hand washing. And so having plenty of hand washing stations, every 20 minutes hand wash time for everybody, keeping the 6 feet social distancing, having no more than 10 customers waiting at a time, perhaps closing lobbies if they're smaller or limiting them to a very safe number. And then we have the issue of masks. There are a number of different masks. A number of states, one has to wear masks, and in some states it's voluntary. There are different kinds of masks. There's a cloth mask, which is very good at protecting others if you had the virus. There are surgical masks, which are also good at protecting others. But if one really wants to protect one's employees, the best mask to do this is either an N95 or a KN95 mask. And the difference I found out between an N95 and a KN95 is pretty much the manufacturer. So if it's an N95, 3M has pretty much made it. And if it's a KN95, it hasn't been made by 3N. And obviously there can be some slight differences, but that's the big difference. So a KN95 or an N95 mask are definitely the safest to stop employees from actually catching the virus from a carrier. Also, it's very important to use an EPA-approved disinfectant. The EPA has a list that you can find online. It's called List N. So you go to EPA-approved disinfectants, List N, and they have a list of all the disinfectants that kill COVID-19. It's very important to get a disinfectant that is approved by the EPA that kills this virus, and you can use this in all your areas, your bathrooms, your waiting areas, your lobbies, and you can also use it while cleaning the cars. The next thing is most car wash operators are making their employees all wear gloves. This is a great best practice. And the final thing to really keep employees and guests safe is every morning do a temperature check on all employees when they arrive with a touchless thermometer, so that anyone with any sign of a temperature or whatever is sent home. And then following the CDC guidelines with quarantining and so on afterwards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are some great best practices. And as you mentioned, the safety of employees and of customers is of the utmost importance during this time. And so those are really, really great guidelines to follow. And we talked at the beginning, and you mentioned just as one of the challenges, the difficulty that car washes are having when it comes to maybe reduced business during this time and maybe some labor issues as well. How can car washes best manage their labor during this time to maximize the work of their employees and to also maximize the amount of money that they have coming into the business?
Yes. So there are, in a snapshot, there are different kinds of car washes. So just in a quick snapshot, an express car wash usually has anywhere between 1 and 2 and 5 employees. And so they're not very labor intensive. But then you have a full service or a flex car wash, and they can have anywhere from 10 to 20 or even 30 employees. So there are different strategies as to how many employees you usually have. But when we're talking about how one runs the labor, there is the new curveball, because operators are always very good at running labor and cognizant of it, because it is the largest cost to a full service or flex service car wash. So they're very good at running labor. But obviously, at the moment, one also gets the PPP money. So that's the small business loans or grants that have been sent out, and they're actually grants at the moment, but they're loans at the moment, but they can change to grants. And so if you have full-time employees, and a full-time employee is someone who works 30 or more hours a week, a lot of that loan can turn into a grant and be forgiven. And so when a car wash operator is scheduling, if they're open, I would recommend, first of all, obviously, talk to the banker and their lender. But if they are going through the PPP scheme, to keep as many full-time employees as possible over that 30-hour threshold and schedule them accordingly. Keep very, very clear notes on how people were paid and what. Make sure you get a clear understanding from the bank. So that's an added part. But if you can turn those loans into grants, it'll really help out the car wash industry for this 2-month period. So I think it's very important that you keep good records, that you are scheduling your usual full-time employees those 30 hours a week, really great record keeping, so that you're able to turn that grant into a loan. And then you're utilizing the money, which is what the federal government did give it out for. And then obviously the other 25% of it can be used for rent and other business expenses.
Yeah, that's some fantastic advice, and I think that is really, really beneficial for car wash owners and operators, especially as it pertains to managing labor and managing costs during this time. What are some other best practices for owners and operators that are open right now to ensure that they can stay open? Do you have any other big tips that you would want to share with car wash owners to make sure that they're able to remain in business during this time?
Yes, thank you. The first is try and become an essential business in your state or local area. And there are a number of ways you can do this. But if you are servicing first responders vehicles, so that's police or ambulances or fire trucks, or if you're taking care of healthcare workers, those are doctors who are going in or are going into hospitals day in and day out, helping to fight the virus, keeping their cars disinfected and clean, and becoming an essential business, that would be the first step so that you can stay open. Some of the other offerings that you can offer if you're a full service or a flex service is offer interior disinfecting. So you go to the list I spoke about earlier, the EPA list N, you get a disinfectant that is clear to kill the virus. And then what a lot of car washes are doing is they're using a Tornador, which is a kind of air gun. So you get air and disinfectant going through the gun. It sprays a mist inside the car. It covers the whole car with the disinfectant. So one person will go in the car and spray the whole car. You leave it to settle for about a minute or so and let it kill anything that's on the interior of the car, and then wipe it down. So then you're giving a real value add to your customers, and you're doing your bit also to fight the virus. So using a disinfectant inside cars is very good. If you have another way to do that, if you're a full service flex, is to use an ozone machine. So offer ozone machine full service details. This takes longer. So what you do is you buy an ozone machine, and you can buy these online for about $350. And what you do is you place them inside the car for about an hour, and that should kill any virus, any bacteria in the car. It also gets rid of any bad smells, smoke, cigarettes, and everything. So ozone machines are great for later on and great for now. If you do unlimited plans, it's very important that for those customers who don't want any interaction, that you have a sign that tells your guests, if you're on the monthly plan, just give us a thumbs up with your window up and we'll send you straight through. That stops any kind of interaction. If you're an express, try and go contactless. And the way you can do that is you can put in readers that just read the number plates, or you can go contactless with credit card machines as you're driving through. So try and go contactless. One of the free vacuums in an express, turn off every other vacuum so you have the good social distancing. Leave sanitizing wipes right near the vacuum so people can wipe it down earlier after every use. Have an attendant who's wiping them down also after every use. Very visible. I recommend people get T-shirts saying disinfectant control with the name of the car wash so people can see that we're actively keeping it clean. So those are some things I would do that would really help us stay open and really give a value add to our customers.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fantastic advice in that area. And, I know that Iron Fox has a lot of expertise as it relates to understanding, the mix of water and chemicals that need to take place at car washes, and understanding exactly how to optimize that mix. And that can be a real cost-saving mechanism for car washes. Are there other ways for car washes to save money right now that you can speak to that would allow them to remain in business and allow them to make sure that they're still bringing in enough revenue to keep the doors open?
Yes. So I think the unlimited plans are the key. So when we're looking at car washes now, we don't have a real centralized area, but a rough survey of car washes that we've spoken to, car washes are generally down about 50%. And the way they've been able to hold the line to that number is through their unlimited plans. And so if you have unlimited plans, you do have that continued source of income with those people coming and paying monthly. And an example is auto dealer mechanics are reporting that they're down 65%. So car washes are able to stay a little bit ahead of that by offering the unlimited plans. But there are not too many savings at this time because we are a volume business. And the way we make money is people coming through our washes. And so, we want to create the safest possible environment, as I said earlier, to get the frequency up.
Definitely. I think you're right. I think at the heart of everything that we've talked about so far has been safety. And I think that is really sound advice and really wise for people to follow that advice and just keep safety of customers and employees at the heart of everything that a car wash is doing at this point, because that is of the utmost importance. Now, we've been talking predominantly about car washes that have managed to stay open throughout this time, but we also know that a number of car washes haven't been able to operate. And you mentioned the example from Maryland earlier. For places that are beginning to open up, and as we perhaps get to a point where the economy begins to reopen and businesses are able to open up again, how should car wash owners and operators be preparing for that as well? And what advice can you give in that vein?
Yeah, yes, it's really turned the industry on its head a little bit. With the Car Wash Show, which is our one annual event, was from April 6th to 8th. So a business like Iron Fox that builds car washes for people, helps them develop them, and so on, that is our number one show of the year. So it is very, very, it has turned the industry on its head. Now, what do people do that haven't been open and they want to get open? So I'll give some examples. It's very important, if you're not open and the machines are not being used, is to try and run them as often as possible, because like any engine, if it's not run often, it'll seize up. Some other things that it's important for people to do is before they shut down, or if they haven't done this now, do it now, is run water through all their feed lines, through the Hydroflex, the injector pumps and everything. Empty and clean hydro into pump station buckets, cap all their open drums, clean all their foam generations, change the media if necessary. If you have a bubblerizer unit, empty it, sanitize it. If possible, hand feed lines so they can completely drain. Do a thorough cleaning of the tunnel and the equipment. Grease and lube all the equipment. As I said earlier, be sure to run the equipment at least twice a week to prevent any of the bearings and motors from seizing up. And then now is the time to do all the much needed maintenance on the equipment. So do a maintenance check. What needs to be replaced? All the major car wash equipment companies, so AVW, McNeil, Sunny's, Pico, their factories are still open, so they're still creating all the machinery we need. So if you need it, now's a good time to order it. Go through, do your maintenance. Also, if you are paying your employees and taking advantage of the PPP scheme, let's give the buildings a painting. Let's get the gardens outside ready. Let's spruce the whole things up. Let's really utilize the people we've got. Let's not give any of these contracts to outside. Let's utilize the people we've got, we're paying, and do as much of it that we can ourselves.
Dominic, I want to close with this question and give you an opportunity maybe to speak to some broader aspects of the industry. Is there anything that you feel the car wash industry will learn from this particular event, from this pandemic? And how do you think maybe the car wash industry will operate differently once this is over? Are there any overarching lessons here that maybe we can take away and share with people just as far as best practices moving forward?
I think the industry was going towards an express model very quickly, even before this. But I think we'll find that a lot of the owners who have full service or flex service will look at transforming those car washes into expresses. The reason being is it has become harder and harder to get employees. And so getting people to work and getting them to stay has become harder and harder. Also, with the changing landscape, people will be searching, I believe, for some more contact, for less contact. And the express model does that very well. So I think we will see a lot of the flex and full service models turn into express models. In fact, we at Iron Fox have already been asked to change to in the next 3 months, from flex to express. So that'll be the biggest change I think we'll see. And I think this pandemic will speed that up even quicker than the way it was happening.
Absolutely. Well, those are some fantastic insights and information for car wash owners and operators. And so, Dominic Lewinsohn, thank you so much for joining me here on the Iron Fox podcast today and sharing these insights and helping to educate the industry.
Cheers, Tyler. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of the Iron Fox podcast. Please be sure to go subscribe on iTunes or Spotify to listen to previous episodes and to make sure that you get future episodes as well, and to continue to get these insights on the car wash industry as a whole and ways that owners and operators can continue to refine their approach and stay up to date with everything going on in the industry. We'll be back soon with more episodes of the podcast, but until then, I've been your host today, Tyler Kern. Thanks for listening.